Yeah, I mean, some of the other farmers and I, we sort of had this discussion, especially when we get notices about farms in Mayaca that, they grow one crop, so they're monocrop farm. They grow, tomatoes for restaurants and grocery stores, and yeah, when the pandemic hit and all that stuff got cut off, I mean, that was good for the local farms. It brought everybody to the local farms because our distribution system isn't, spread off across the state in the United States. We know who we're growing for.
I'm George Siegel, and this is the Tell Us How to Make It Better podcast. Every week we introduce you to people who are working on real-world problems and providing actual solutions. Tell Us How to Make It Better is partnering with the Readiness Lab, the home for podcasts, webinars, and training in the field of emergency and disaster services. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on this week's Tell Us How to Make It Better podcast. When I originally recorded today's episode, it was going to be the kickoff episode for our second season. But then Hurricane Ian hit, and it changed a lot of the things that I thought were important to talk about. So for a couple of weeks, I had some guests on that were experts on hurricanes, disasters, rebuilding, all the stuff that I thought we should be talking about at the time. But now I want to talk about today's episode. And it's pretty interesting because you have to say to yourself, do you eat organic? Do you eat locally grown? Well, I found a place right here in Tampa that has both of those things going for them. I hope you like it. My guest today is Chris Kenrick. He's co-director of Sweetwater Organic Community Farm, along with his wife, Joni Spencer, who is the co-director and head farmer. Hey, Chris, thanks for having us out here today. Appreciate your time. So you have an organic farm. What made you want to have an organic farm? It seems like kind of an unusual thing to have.
Well, this isn't my organic farm. This is your organic farm. We're 100% volunteer run. Next year, Sweetwater celebrates 30 years. We're the oldest community-supported agricultural farm in the state of Florida. It was founded by Rick Martinez, who's since retired and kind of splits his time between France and Florida. But this is a community organization. We're all volunteers. Every Sunday is our volunteer day. We do everything by hand. So I'm the director of Sweetwater Organic Community Farm, and then my wife she's really in charge. She's the head farmer. And runs everything on the farm, and she really runs the farm. So if you want to come and see how we grow and learn from my wife, who's a good farmer, but this area we have a lot of other good farmers as well, with John Butts at Eco Farm and Travis at Trail Bale, and there's a bunch of other, Jim Kovaleski. There's some good farmers around here.
Is farming something that's in your blood? I mean, I wouldn't end up as a farmer. I
never thought I would be farming. It was never in my plan. I mean, I'm from Wisconsin. I grew up around farms. I was in FFA, but I went to college for business and real estate and entrepreneurship, and we live in downtown St. Petersburg. But when we sort of were notified that they were going to sell the farm, which was in 2019, that's when we realized we're losing farmland at a pretty high rate, and we want to make sure, this was pre-pandemic, and now it's sort of, we've validated everything that we sort of were thinking, but we wanted to be closer to our food source, and we live in a very urban area, not like rural Wisconsin or anything like that, but our food travels a really long distance to get to us, and we wanted to sort of shorten that distance. We were members of Little Pond's CSA program or membership program at the Saturday morning market, and Rick approached us and told us they were going to sell the farm, and we figured we'd step up to kind of lead the charge. So my wife and I kind of reached out to everybody that we knew, and we raised like $100,000 in 4 days to save the farm. And that's when we really got into farming. I mean, my wife was involved in community gardens in St. Pete, but this is a whole new level. That's really what I kind of saw missing from the community garden, was sort of the economic value. I mean, you came to a dinner on the farm. That was a fundraiser for the farm.
That was awesome, by the way. That was really impressive.
Yeah, and so this year we're going to be doing a lot more farm-to-table dinners. I mean, we've got the Planters Ball coming up in December, and Outstanding in the Field will be back again on the farm in January, and then we'll do a farm breakfast brunch in February, and then, of course, our Pesto Festo is always a popular hit, and that'll be April 15th.
Now, when I moved to Tampa, I think it was like 6 years ago, I think of beaches, I think of they have a lot of breweries here, we have good sports teams. I don't think of farming. What's the ground like here for farming?
Well, the soil where we are is very sandy, and so we add a lot of organic material to it. Of course, with the farm being volunteer run, we're always trying to cut our costs as much as we can. So we have a great relationship with the Tampa Zoo, or the Zoo Tampa Lowry Park. We get 3 dump truck loads every week of manure from the zoo.
They make plenty.
They make plenty.
They
So
do.
only from the plant eaters. So we don't get any manure from the meat eaters. It's all the herbivores. So trying to create partnerships and relationships with other businesses that, it's a waste for them, but it's a resource for us. So that's one of them. These are our farmers right here. So we get 3 dump truck loads every week from the Tampa Zoo, and then as you walk around the farm, you'll see piles and piles of mulch. Those are from our tree company partners as well, because they have to pay to get rid of that mulch.
And they can bring it to you.
And they can bring it to us for free. We only take the oak mulch, but so trying to get free resources to build our soil. So oak mulch, the manure, and then we use like fish emulsion and seaweed and other free resources as well.
Now, the theme of my podcast is about recognizing problems and then doing something to make them better. So what would you see as the problem? I find a lot of people just don't get on board with organic, which is amazing to me because they absolutely should be doing that. But what would you recognize as the problem, and what are you saying you're doing to make it better?
Well, I think in our urban environment, probably the problem is that we don't have a relationship with a local farmer. You don't know where your food's coming from. You don't know who's growing your food. We're completely disconnected from the system. And so we're trying to both promote our farm and show people how we grow, but also creating opportunities and relationships with other farmers and creating, farmers are not marketers. They spend most of their time in the field. They're not, spending their time in the office thinking about their marketing plan and their distribution. And some of them are, but we're trying to also be a resource to other farmers as well, so they can focus on what they enjoy doing and is farming, and really bringing value back to the farming profession. We've devalued farming so much and the profession of farming that nobody wants to be a farmer. And so we're trying to bring that value back.
Now, how would people think of it differently? Okay, sometimes I go to these food fairs on a Saturday or Sunday, and it says locally grown, and then it says organically grown. Should I be concerned about the difference between the two?
If it's locally grown, that means you're going to have a direct relationship with the farmer. Just because maybe they're not certified, I would say that that's probably okay, because you know exactly who you're buying it from, and you can ask them, okay, well, what do you put on your plants? What do you put on? And they're not going to be like, oh, I put, glyphosate all over everything. They're going to be much more conscious about what they're putting on their field, because they're dealing directly with the consumer. So if it's locally grown, I would be less concerned that it's organically certified, because they're feeding their neighbors and their family and their friends. So they're going to be much more conscious about what they're putting into the land. So sometimes, if I had a choice between locally grown and organic from Mexico, I would take a locally grown.
All day.
Yeah. Well, we're sort of reclaiming the farm from summertime, which, typically is, we grow a lot of sweet potatoes. The sweet potatoes we plant, so that way it kind of cover crops. It suppresses all the weeds, and then, hopefully we get a bountiful sweet potato crop as well. But so we just planted our tomatoes, I think on, today's Wednesday, so they did this on Friday and Sunday. A lot of mulch that we use and a lot of compost from the zoo. So this is sort of 2 beds that have been reclaimed from summer, and now we've got our first season of tomatoes in there. And then
now, it doesn't look like a lot, so it seems like that would be gone in one Sunday. It's like, how do you make this stuff, how do you stretch it out?
What do you mean?
You see, how many tomatoes would come from this row?
Well, the tomato plants get really large. When you come back in a couple of months, this will be a lot of tomatoes. Our shares, we have about 200 families that we serve on a weekly basis. So that's, we're not going to grow enough food for everybody in Tampa Bay, but we can get somewhere between north of 200 families is kind of our goal. But and we've got 3 other fields as well. So we'll do tomatoes here. Last year we had tomatoes over there, so we sort of, we have to get into not planting the same thing, so that way we can kind of remineralize the soil and grow things in different areas. But farming in Florida is always an experimentation as well.
Yeah, it seems like things grow here really well when just with the weather we have.
Yeah, but Florida weather is also unpredictable too. I mean, it could flood if it rains for a week straight too. So
it does every day in South Tampa that it rains. There's flooding.
Yeah. So we also are building. If you look where we're standing and then you look at where the fields are much higher than the walkways. But that's because we're constantly adding organic matter and sort of building up the beds. But this one hasn't been reclaimed yet from the summer, so that's all sweet potatoes out there, and we have sweet potato patches here, bananas there, and then the periphery, we've got hibiscus and loquats and other things on the periphery. There's our mulch piles over there, so the tree companies just come and mulch, and then we have our wheelbarrow armies on Sunday that come and move everything. We don't have a tractor on the farm. It's on our wish list, but I also don't mind that we don't have a tractor. One, because we don't have to worry about maintenance and gas and repairing it, and we just got to move it by wheelbarrow. So we need more people power. We've got a couple playgrounds on the farm, so we're trying to build the infrastructure for families and intermixed with peach trees and papaya trees and banana trees and mango trees, avocado trees, and we're always planting new trees. What we just planted? We just planted a pomegranate, so we're constantly planting more fruit trees. Our star fruit tree's in season right now, so if you like star fruit, we can.
I don't even know what star fruit is.
Oh man. All right, well, I guess we're going to have to try star fruit. I'll find you a nice, the brighter the better. Let me find you a star fruit. I mean, it looks like a star when you cut it. All right, freshly harvested. All right, so here you go. You can try a star fruit. You've never had a star fruit?
I've never had a star fruit.
Oh, man.
How do you consume it? What do you do?
Just like this.
Wait a second. You just bite into it?
Just bite into it.
Okay, this will be my first taste of a star fruit. Are these in the supermarket?
Sometimes, yeah, but I think the people who are interested, they'd probably be growing it themselves. They're more a local source. I mean, I don't know where they'd be coming from if they're in the grocery store, but I don't know. I don't know how popular they are in the grocery store, but.
And not to sound like a total city boy, but you don't have to wash it when you're on an organic farm, right?
You don't. When did it rain last? I mean, it should be good to go. So.
And the fact that I'm gushing juice all over the place.
Yeah, you're staying hydrated. We always, if you die on the farm, I got to bury you on the farm. Because
you saw to get me out of here.
You saw it on the sign when you come in.
So I get your emails regularly about what goes on here on Sundays. Mm-hmm. Tell people what happens and why they want to come out.
Yeah, so Sunday's like our big day. It's the day that we're open to the public. Every Sunday is a volunteer day, 9 a.m. to 12. You can come see how we grow, be involved in the growing process. We have yoga on the porch from 10:30 to 11:30. Our farmers market, which is here on the farm, that's a seasonal. That goes from this year, it's October 30th, so Halloween to Mother's Day, like May 14th. But we do have the cafe open every Sunday as well, 12 to 3, where we have produce both from our farm and other farms. So we always have produce available on Sunday. And then we have a lot of classes and workshops that are going on the farm. You can check out our website, sign up for the newsletter like you, so that way you can stay up to date. Maybe you want to teach a class or a workshop on the farm. And then on our market season, our farmers market, we have live music. The stage is pretty close. So 12 to 2. That's kind of in partnership with a couple DJs from WMNF. And that's also open mic, 2 to 3. So you can come out and share your gifts and talents. And but yeah, we've got a lot of pizza classes. We built a brand new pizza oven on the farm. We do have a couple of Airbnbs on the farm. We're building an eco campground on the farm, so next year more people can come. You can bring your own camper, motorhome, RV, VW bus, or we hope to partner with other builders and architects and designers and build like a little mini glampground with maybe 5 structures. So that way when the kids come on field trips, because during the week we do a lot of field trips, Wednesday and Friday, a lot of school groups
I was going to ask you about that, because that seemed to be something that's important to you, to educate young people about this.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you how many kids that come on the farm and don't know where different things come from. You know, that carrots come from the ground, or that tomatoes come from a vine. You know, a lot of them think that it comes from a can because they just don't have any connection or relationship. And that's really our mission, is to get the kids on the farm and show them, you know, create a connection to the land and all the different things that we can grow, because then they come back when they're older sometimes to volunteer, you know, get your Bright Future hours. And like I said, we need more farmers. So the sooner we can get them, and then I asked them after the field trip, you know, after we tour the farm, like, who wants to be a farmer? And, you know, you get some of the kids to raise their hand, and I don't think they're really getting that exposure or experience anywhere else. And that's kind of our mission, is to instill the livelihood, the lifestyle, and the value in farming as both a consumer, but also as a possible career opportunity.
Now, when we've had problems with people talk about the supply chain and how there's things that are missing in grocery stores, does that trickle down to local? You guys are probably still growing the same stuff and still have the same things available.
Yeah, I mean, with some of the other farmers and I, we sort of had this discussion, you know, especially when we get notices about farms in Mayaca that, they grow one crop, so they're monocrop farm. They grow, you know, tomatoes for restaurants and grocery stores. And yeah, when the pandemic hit and all that stuff got cut off, I mean, that was good for the local farms. It brought everybody to the local farms, because our distribution system isn't, you know, spread off across the state in the United States. We know who we're growing for. I mean, for us in particular, we're a CSA farm, so people buy a membership in the farm, and then on a weekly basis they get a share. I mean, that's who we're growing for. And then we have our market where we sell things for that's open to the public, but also people that have SNAP and EBT benefits. I mean, you can come and double your dollars here on the farm. So if you spend $40 of your SNAP and EBT money, we give you another $40 on top of that. So it's sort of, it cuts into the cost, you know, organic food or food from the farm is more expensive. Well, if you have SNAP and EBT, we actually help double your dollars. Mm-hmm. So,
and then,
but the pandemic was good in general for most local farms.
What are the things you grow? So if I come out here to buy some stuff on a Sunday, what am I looking at?
Well, it depends on the season, because
Right.
it depends on the day and the month. I mean, today we're harvesting. Eric, what are you harvesting today? Sweet potatoes?
Harvesting?
Yeah.
We're actually forming beds.
Forming beds, but you know, like this past Sunday, you know, we're harvesting sweet potatoes. That's kind of our summer crop. Our starfruit tree is lush right now. Basil, eggplant, and then we're planting. So right now we're planting kind of our fall crops, kale, collards. I mean, like 40 different vegetables. And then of course around the perimeter we're doing our perennial food production. So I can see Barbados cherries and loquats and a lot of bananas and papayas. So that way we've always got food kind of growing on the farm. You know, we've got our bees around the corner, so they're our best volunteers. They show up every day, and we get our honey. We got our chickens over here, so we have eggs from the farm.
Now you're really tucked away in a place where when you're driving by, you wouldn't expect to find a farm back here.
You would not. No, I mean, we're in an area called Town and Country, and I say that we are the last country left in Town and Country. I mean, it used to be all farmland, but you know, there's so much development pressure that everything is, you know, so many people moving here already, but just everything's for sale and everything's being developed, and you know, we need to make sure that we have local food production and local farms. And you know, that's why part of our mission is helping to preserve not just this farm, putting it into a land trust or some sort of community land trust, but also, you know, what's going to happen to Farmer John, you know, John Butts with, you know, his 60 acres when he retires. What's the succession plan for that one? And creating sort of a community, you know, a Tampa Bay community land trust or farmers land trust, so that way we can preserve the land that's valuable for farming, and especially that's been farming organically for 30, 40 years, I mean, that's really priceless. And that's kind of the way that we looked at this farm when we save it. We don't have a way to sort of value even good soil. You know, it's like, what's the best use for this land? You know, how many apartment units can I get on this land, and is that really the best use? And who's looking at it from a value perspective of the soil? And I mean, most appraisers are not doing that. I mean, I'm in real estate, and nobody's having that kind of conversation, especially really in Tampa Bay.
Now, you seem to have a real entrepreneurial spirit. What advice do you have for other people who maybe think they want to do something, but they just are sitting around going, I can't do it? What would you tell people to encourage them?
Well, my wife would always say slow and small solutions. My dad would say moderation. My parents own businesses in St. Petersburg, so I've sort of come from a family of entrepreneurs. But you have to take action. You have putting together some sort of a plan, a business plan, getting involved. Finding Warren Buffett would say, find what you're passionate about and sort of develop that into a business. But what is it you like to do? And for me, it's travel and being connected. I like to go travel and visit other farms now. But giving slow and small solutions, moderation, taking action, and finding your passion.
How do people
starting a podcast?
There you go, because nobody's doing that. I mean,
Yeah.
there's like 5 million of them. So
well, hopefully you're passionate about it, so that you're bringing your energy to your passion.
I love it. Not making any money with it, but I love it. And that means a lot when you're doing something. If you don't enjoy it, I always tell people, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're in trouble right from the beginning.
Well, we're not doing this to make money. We're doing this to grow food. We're working for food. We're like, holding those signs like we'll work for food, but it's, local, organic, free range. It's all done by volunteers. Today we've got 3 or 4 people working on the farm. It's not a volunteer day, but we've got 3 or 4 people living on the farm, caretaking the farm, and that's going to expand with the campground. So just creating a place where people can share their gifts and talents. I don't do a podcast. I probably
Maybe
need
you should.
No, I'll let you do that. I'll support your podcast.
No, I appreciate that.
But this is a way that you can contribute and support the farm, and that's kind of what I always say as well for this farm is, how can the farm serve you, and then how can you serve the farm? Because you don't even have to come to the farm to support the farm. There's a lot of ways that people support the farm and the community supports the farm without even coming here. We can never grow enough food for everybody, but so find your local farmer wherever you are and connect with your especially the organizations that are focused on preserving farm land or stewarding the land, because we really need to think about our future and future generations and creating access. Where are new farmers? If I want to be a farmer, where can I go learn how to farm? We need more places like that. So.
Now, it'll be in the show notes, but if people want to follow you on social media or get in touch with you, what's the best way for people to follow you?
We'll come to the farm on Sunday. That would be the best way. You can come volunteer, participate in one of the classes, workshops, go to the website and sign up for the newsletter. That way you stay up to date on the farm to table dinners or anything else that might be of interest to you. But we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. Other volunteers kind of manage those sites. But if there's also a way that you want to get involved in the farm, you can send the farm an email and they'll sort of direct you. And we're looking for field trip guides. So if you're a retired teacher or if you want to be a new teacher, a future teacher, you could come and volunteer on Wednesday and Sunday and help with our field trips. If you're a teacher out there and you are in a classroom and you're in Tampa Bay, we can get you on the farm. But let us know how we can serve you, we as the farm, and let us know how you want to serve the farm.
All right. Hey, Chris, thanks for having me on.
No problem. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for spreading the message, and we'll keep growing together.
Thank you so much for joining me on this week's podcast. If you want to get more information about the farm, it is in the show notes. And there's also a contact form there if you have any ideas for future episodes or just comments about anything you've seen in this episode or season 1. Please feel free to share them with me, and I also value you sharing the podcast. If you enjoyed listening, please become a subscriber and share the link with people you know, even people you don't know. Thanks again for listening. See you next time.